and welcome to the Happiest Hour. I'm Paula Devine, and today I am joined by a very special friend of mine, Ambre Carter. Ambre, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. So, did you know today is National Chocolate Chip Cookie Day?
No, I was like, chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah. So, in honor of that,
Okay,
cheers.
cheers. Let's do it. Why not?
Mm.
Yum.
Um, Thank you so much for being here
Thank you for
and
having me.
agreeing to come on. We've known each other a long time,
Mhm.
and you've been a fitness instructor, a yoga instructor, or you still are. And every time I run into you, I always enjoy catching up on what's going on with the kids or just life in general. So I wanted to have you on to talk about so many different topics. But before we dive into those things, do you want to tell those who don't know you a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So again, my name is Ambre Carter, and I am in the fitness, wellness, all of that health industry. I've been a fitness teacher since like 20 something years. I started as a Pilates instructor, like teaching mat Pilates way before it was popular. Now it's like the thing
Okay.
everybody's doing. And then I got certified to do reformer. So I built up from there. I taught some group fitness classes at a gym and just really have always been kind of passionate and in love with like the body and the physiological capabilities of the body and the whole mind and spirit connection. And I didn't really get into yoga until I was pregnant with Logan, who's my baby. And so he's 19 now. So I started taking yoga classes when I was pregnant. So I started with a prenatal yoga and I fell in love with it. And I instantly was like, I want this in my life. Like this is something I felt like had
Mm.
been missing, but didn't really even know what it was. So I started to dive deeper into my yoga practice. And then I stumbled into Yoga Joint. I met Paige, who's
Mm.
the owner of Yoga Joint, and I instantly was like, this is where I need to be. Like I felt it was like love at first sight. So I've been with her since she opened the doors of Yoga Joint. So that was 2010, and now it's 16 years later.
Wow.
And I've had the pleasure of not only being a yoga teacher, but also a fit teacher and also building a career with the company as it grows. So now we're 18 locations and we've franchised and we have I think now reached the 100 mark of franchisees. So we're building
Wow.
and expanding and the whole growth period has been amazing. It's been a great like growth to see the company expand, but also like individually, because as you reach a certain age in your life, you're like, what's next? You know,
Yeah.
you're kind of at that brink and everything starts to shift and you're like, my kids are getting older and my life is changing and who am I and what am I
Yeah.
going to do? So it all kind of fell into place exactly when it was meant to be and when it all just happened perfectly and was aligned. And so we're growing and we're expanding. And I also do some things on my own. I host women's wellness retreats and I work on the not work. I sit on the board of a non-for-profit organization called Elevate Her, where we take women in distress, single moms, people, that are coming out of recovery, people that need to be built up and assisted in that next step of, how do I get from point A to point B? So we're building that foundation and we did our first retreat this year in Italy,
Ooh.
which was beautiful and successful and very emotional. And I'm just excited about what's coming next. I was like, went through a stage in my life where I was like, who am I and where do I fit in and where do I belong? And it's like, once you just start to ask yourself those questions and you kind of open yourself up, I feel like things start to come towards you. Life will show you if
Yeah.
you just allow yourself to get curious about it. So I'm in my curiosity stage right
Era.
now.
Era. That's the
Yes.
buzzword, my
I'm in
curiosity era.
curiosity era. So I just feel like every day we're positioned to open ourselves up to
Mm.
what's next and try not to hold back. And, forever I've been a mom and I'm really kind of stepping out of that role. And I was just like, okay, what now?
Yeah.
What's next? And
Yeah.
I'm excited. I think like this next chapter is going to be the best one. And I'm here for it. And I think that a lot of women at this stage come face to face with this,
Hmm.
where am I? Who am I? Where do I belong? And how did I get here? Because all those years of raising
Yeah.
kids and building businesses and going to school and trying to achieve things and figure everything out, it just becomes like this spiral effect. And then you wake up one day and you're just
Yeah.
like, how did I get here? Who am I?
Yeah.
Like, who am I? Because we always have like, we're put into these positions where we have these imposed set of belief systems that are placed upon us, and then you never really have a choice to
No.
decide. And then you get to this stage and you're like, oh, okay,
Okay. Yeah.
time to figure it out.
Yeah. Hence where we're sitting right now. This is the last place I thought I'd be, but
I know.
thank you for mentioning the yoga joint. I started going to yoga joint 15 years ago. So I guess that's how long we've actually known each other. And you are a phenomenal teacher.
Thank
You get
you.
in there and you're so natural at it and you have such a following. And so I appreciate you mentioning that. I do mention the yoga joint a lot here on the show. But this podcast is primarily about alcohol freedom, women coming on, sharing their stories, their struggles, how their drinking evolved and how they stopped and how their life is now on the other side. And I know that you do not drink. I found that out when I got sober. I did not know that. Do you consider yourself a sober person?
Yeah, I had stopped drinking about 14 years ago. I would say I was not like your typical, if there is even such a term as a typical alcoholic. It was kind of like I used alcohol as a tool to help me feel comfortable in social settings. I always felt like a little socially awkward. So in order to cover that up, I would have a few drinks, but then a few drinks would turn into very drunk very fast for me. I have a really low tolerance to alcohol. So then that very drunk became very embarrassing.
Mm.
So as I was younger, it wasn't a big deal. You go out, you don't know anybody
No.
at the bar, you wake up, you go home, you're fine. You're like, whatever, I'm never going to see those people again. But then I found myself in a circle of moms with young kids who would get together and we would drink to kind of like shake off the week or just to let loose or to release some stress. But then that just became like more and more frequent. And we're, at somebody's house and there's a whole bunch of kids running around, little kids, big kids. And then we're just like chugging it, throwing it back, throwing it back. We're doing shots, we're doing drinks, like we're getting loud. And I found myself at a house of a friend, like face down in the front yard, like passed out, literally throwing up and just not even knowing what was happening, like completely out of my body. And the next day, my daughter was like, Mom, my friends were talking about you last night at the party. Like, they were like, what's wrong with Hannah's mom? Like, is she okay? And I just felt like so devastated and so embarrassed for my child. And I thought like it hit me. And I was like, you're the one setting the example. Like, you need to know how to show up for your children. You don't want to put yourself into that place where like your kids' friends are looking at you and questioning like why you're showing up like that. So for me, that was it. That was like the day I was like, I decided I'm not going to drink anymore. I'm not that person. I don't want to show up as that person. I was raised by an alcoholic stepfather and I saw how that destroyed our family and how, I remember being that young girl and seeing him the way he would behave. And he was not a fun drunk. He was a mean drunk. So most of the nights would end with him fighting with someone or fighting with my mother or things like that. So it hit me like in a deep place and it reminded me that I don't want to be that person for my kids. I want to do better and I want to set a better example. So I quit then and I'm a very disciplined person if you know me. If I set my mind to do something,
I guess so.
I'm going to do it.
A lot of us need tools, coaching, meetings, and you're like, I'm done. I'm good.
I'm like, I'm finished with this. I mean, of course, there were moments where, you feel the pressure. I still had friends that were still drinking. And I know you know this, like you go into these events, you go to dinners, you go to parties, and everyone's like, oh, here's your drink. And I'm like, oh, it's okay. I'm not drinking. And they're like, why aren't you drinking? What happened? They want you to tell them like this big story about why you're sober all of a sudden. And it's a lot of explanation. And sadly, it's a lot of judgment. Like people don't really like reward you for not drinking.
Right.
They almost scold you. But
I know.
I think it's kind of like they they're curious, but they're also like, why am I still drinking? they're questioning themselves. You're
Right.
kind of acting like a mirror towards them. So I got a lot of that, even, within my own family. And people are like, oh, we're not going to have fun anymore. That whole thing when you're not drinking.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I mean, I'm still a good time. I'm still
Yeah,
a
you're
good
still a
time.
fun girl.
But yeah, so it's just, I think it's a little bit different the way that it shows up for people.
Hmm.
It doesn't always look as, clean cut as you expect it to be, or how you see it in the movies.
Yeah.
And I just feel, there's this whole group of women even that I knew that were just like socially drinking, but also at the same time, they're working on a deeper issue that
Hmm.
they can't, that they're masking with the alcohol. I'm in like a stage of my life, I'm in my honest era. So I
We have a
just,
lot of eras to cover today.
I just think like it's a opportunity when you're not using any kind of substance. My friends and I joke around all the time, like we're just raw dog in life, like
Yeah.
no drugs, no alcohol, no prescription medication, like nothing. We're just out there. But it's great to have like I have some really close friends who are in the same space with me, and I just feel like it's nice to have that
Yeah,
support, to understand that we're still, living our best life, and we made these choices to show up differently for ourselves and for our children. And my oldest daughter now has children of her own, so I'm a grandma.
I cannot believe you're a
I
grandma.
know. Two, I have a 5-week-old and a 5-year-old. So
Wow,
granddaughter, grandson. So
congratulations.
that's been really special. But she's also chosen just to not drink. Like
Yeah,
just as a mother, she just wants to show up for her kids and be responsible and set a good example. And I feel like, that comes from the work that we've done. I feel like
absolutely.
that's all part of what we're doing, is just like with the goal to pass it on to the
Mm,
next generations after us.
that's beautiful, and I commend you on doing that and being so brave to do that at a time too when like now it's a little bit more of a movement and it's more acceptable and mocktails are everywhere and people are posting about their sober journeys. So at that time, I'm sure that was even harder
It
to
was.
do.
I would get like a sparkling drink and put cranberry juice and a lime in it, and I'd just be like,
Yeah,
so nobody would question me. It was so weird
yeah,
because that was the hardest part. Was
right.
just like, you feel like you have to explain yourself to everybody.
Hmm.
Yeah, because they want to know. They want to know what's going on.
Um, so in addition to this being a podcast about women becoming alcohol free, the foundation of this podcast and the purpose of all of this is to live with more intention and purpose in our lives. Has that played a role, do you think, stopping drinking and being a better mother and showing up in your life?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like everything just kind of came together at the right time when I stopped. I had already kind of begun into like the arena of mindfulness and yoga and breath work and meditation. And I was dabbling in it a little bit. And then I had lost my own mother to cancer. And I realized, like, after I lost her, I noticed I was like drinking a little more often and drinking a little more than I typically would. And kind of just that was the summer after she passed that I had that incident where I was face down in the grass with
Mm.
all the kids around. So I felt like my mother never drank. She never drank alcohol her whole entire life. She never smoked a cigarette. She never tried drugs. Like, she just never did it. I don't know. There's not even really a reason, but it was just interesting. When I would look back, I don't, because I'm like, I never remember seeing my mom drunk or even seeing her mom drunk or even like her sisters. Like,
Yeah.
we grew up in a, Christian family. So there was never, we didn't have alcohol at parties. We didn't have them at weddings. It was just not part of the scene for us. But for some reason, my sister and I were like getting out. I mean, yes, we started young. We started like as teenagers,
Sure,
just
as
getting
most of
into it.
us
Yeah.
do.
I mean, we were, out in the woods and cabins, like drinking beer, whatever,
And where was
kegs
this?
in Pennsylvania. And just, being girls and just doing things. But I think like a lot of it kind of all came to a head at that point. Like when I lost her and the sadness and it was shocking. She died of cancer and she was 55 years old. She was young.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
so young.
pancreatic cancer. And it just all like really changes you. Like when something
Yes.
so traumatic like that in life changes you, and I started thinking, I want my life to mean something. Like I want to have a purpose. I want to make an impact in people's lives. And then that's when I started diving deeper into the health and wellness industry and like how can I help other people? And I'm a girl's girl. So I really like kind of just naturally go towards women. It's not that I have anything against men, but I do like the whole women's health, everything about it is so interesting to me. And now as I'm, a little over 50 and I'm reaching like the whole different stage of life and everything is changing. And so I think even now it's more important to kind of get your circle and keep your circle tight and also be with people who get you,
Hmm.
and I have just like a handful of friends, but I'm very close to them. And I, that is so important to me at this stage of life because our kids are grown and we don't have as many things distracting us as we did before.
Yeah.
And I think you know, I journal, I meditate, I do yoga. I try my best to work, I just started going back to church. So things like that I just, when you have kids, you just don't have time to do all of those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So I'm diving a little deeper into like that side of myself now. So I think that women our age kind of were given that chance once we reach this stage, to figure out what we want to do for a
Absolutely.
long,
I
long
mean,
time.
connections are, I get asked this question all the time. How do I stop drinking? How do I stop doing this? And I'm like, it's connecting,
It is.
connecting with others. And when we're raising our kids, we're connected through others, but through our kids,
Yes.
whereas now we have the chance to connect with others with what feels aligned in what's going on in our lives. And that's amazing. But when you talk about health and wellness and fitness, all of the things, and then when you quit drinking, so it's almost like you were in alignment. You found that you weren't in alignment. I lived a long time out of alignment. I was working out all week and doing all the things and then drinking on the weekend. So a lot of my coaching here that I stress upon is how out of alignment we are. I want to mention something that you wrote in your book about alignment. Actually, she's an author too. She forgot to mention that. I absolutely love your book, Unlearning, and you go by the pen name Emma Odessa. But in here, you said personal accountability is about being in alignment with your purpose and taking the necessary steps to constantly improve yourself. When you hold yourself accountable, you start to realize that you need to have an intention behind your decision. I mean, that is everything. Living with intention and feeling aligned and just having peace overall. So tell me a little bit about, you've been on a journey for a while, but in the last year or
The last
two.
year's been super intense for me.
Right.
Super intense.
And I know you and I have, seen
Yeah.
each other and we've talked a little bit about it, but can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's basically been like a wicked roller coaster that I'm ready to get off.
Your roller coaster era.
It's been a wild ride. My poor husband has been along for the ride the whole time. So I don't know, something like literally snapped in me. I know, they talk about empty nesting and like how everything changes. And if you read my book, you'll find out I got pregnant when I was 15 years old. So I got pregnant, found out when I was 15, went through the pregnancy, delivered her. I had turned 16 and then delivered her a few months later. And I instantly, without a lot of choice, stepped into the role of being a mother, not even knowing what I was doing or how to do anything. So for years and years and years, I'm operating in fight or flight. Like my nervous system was a wreck. I'm in survival mode. I'm trying to keep this baby alive. I had my mother and her support, but she was also in her life and going through divorce, and there was just a lot happening. So I'm kind of like out in the world and I've got this baby and I'm trying to figure it out. Dropped out of high school, just like, where's my life? What am I
Wow.
doing? Living on welfare, living in like subsidized housing, working as a bartender, trying to get it back. I started like going to community college because I was was like, I want better. I was the first woman in my family to ever go to college. So this is what I have to break this cycle. My mother's mother was a teen mom. Her mom was a teen mom. My mom was a teen mom. So it's just like a cycle of generational, a pattern. And I was like, I'm going to break this pattern. Like way back then, before I even had any idea about intention or, any kind of mindfulness or anything like that. It was always kind of like deeply rooted into just who I am as a person. And again, my discipline, I'm like, I'm doing, like, this is what I'm doing. So I went back to school. I was working. I was raising this baby. I had my own little apartment. We were pushing through. And I raised her on my own until she was 7. And then that's when I met John, who I'm married to. John and I have been together 27 years.
Wow.
And he took me and Ashley, and we started this little family together, and I moved to Florida. And then, we had children together after that. But I've just always been a mother and a caretaker, and I've never done anything other than that. I mean, I started taking care of my sister when I was like 7 because my mother was just incapable mentally and where she was at that stage in her life. So when I was done taking care of people, I'm like, okay, now what? So
Yeah.
let's blow up your life. Let's throw it all up and see what happens. So I just started like really kind of taking a deep dive because like I said, you wake up one day and you're like, who am I and where do I belong and what's next for me? So I did a lot of I did some work with Joe Dispenza. I did a couple of his retreats last year, and then the I went to Ireland in January of this year and did the Lisa Hayes course in Heal Your Life. And
How was
that
that?
was amazing. That was
Wow.
intense. It was a
It
10-day.
was.
It was a group of 8 women. We all got together. And the first part of the training was you basically healing yourself so that you could then learn how to take this work and bring it to other people to help them heal themselves. So
Okay.
the whole series is actually called Heal Your Life. So we did a lot of like forgiveness work. We did a lot of inner child work. We did some work with like women who like shifting the shoulds to the coulds. Like instead of saying I should, say I could, I could. Like it's all that
Hmm.
that way that you speak to yourself and how you have the power to change your narrative and create your own story. And this is your book you're writing, and you get to edit it. So it's a lot of really deep emotional work. So that was a lot for me. And I came back from there and I was like, you know what? I don't want any part of this life. I told my husband, I'm like, I'm done with this relationship. I'm done with being this person. I'm done with doing this. And he was like, what happened to you over there? And I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like this deep urge, this deep need for freedom.
Hmm.
That's all I could think about, is because I felt like for the first time, like unrestricted and just open, and that there was infinite possibilities. But my mind was like playing tricks on me, and I wasn't realizing you can have both. Like both things can exist at the same time.
Hmm.
You can find freedom, but still be who you are. But because I'm just like an all or nothing kind of person, and so since January has literally been a roller coaster ride. We've had our ups, we've had our downs. I mean, I've had relationship issues with him, with like friends, with my children. It's like an unraveling, I
Yes,
feel.
it is.
And I'm learning, though, that the best thing that's come out of all of this is I don't have to have all the answers. I can get curious. I can ask myself the questions. I can be honest and express the way I'm feeling and know that my family, my kids, my husband, my friends, they're still going to love me. They're still going to be there for me. They're still going to show up for me. So it's been probably one of the hardest years of my life, other than the year my mom passed away, but also like it's like an awakening,
Mm.
and it's just an opportunity to come into this whole next stage.
Yeah.
And I feel excited about it. At first I was really scaring myself with some of the things that were going on in my head.
Yeah.
But I also think that when I talk to other women, I feel like this is normal.
Yeah.
I feel like a
Absolutely.
lot of people go through this, and I think like it's an unspoken truth, that's not, people
Mm.
don't come out and say like, yeah, I want to blow up my life and run
Yeah.
away. And
Well, the thought of being just an empty nester in general is so scary to so many people. So I guess I'll ask you then, did you feel like you were prepared for empty nesting? And do you think that that's maybe why all of this self-discovery
100%.
surfaced?
Even my husband, John, was like, I really think like you don't know how to be anything outside of your role as a mother. And
Right.
it's created like such a purpose for you in your life. And I mean, I'm still a mother, but it's like the everyday hands on things. And I'm like very good at keeping myself busy and keeping myself like distracted from like everything that's going on. And it was interesting because when things got really, really quiet, everything inside of me got so loud.
Mm.
And that was super triggering for me because I guess just all that noise was helping me not really deal with the deep-seated things that were going on with me, like the fear and, the guilt and the judgment and like just all of the questions that were rising up, and I would just keep like suppressing them down. Like, who are you? What are you going to do? What's next? I'm very much an action oriented person. And I was there. I was right where I wanted to be. And I had everything that I wanted and needed. And then I was like freaking out about
Wow.
it.
Is
Yeah.
that when you wrote your book?
I started writing my book when kind of at the brink of it. I still had Hannah here in South Florida and I still had Logan at home. So I was still kind of, pseudo in that role, but understanding that it was shortly ending,
Hmm.
So I definitely was starting to feel the crunch of it all coming in. And that's when yeah,
Did you find it freeing to write the book?
that was the first step, I think, into
Yeah.
all of this was
Yeah, I
writing
would
the
think
book.
so.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of, I hear in the book, it's like a lot of release.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying a lot of things that sound like you're finding peace and you're letting go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, letting goes, I think that's an everyday practice that I
Yes.
do is letting go. But there's another, I'm only going to read two things in here because I mean, I could read the whole book on the podcast because it's so good. But there's another thing you said in here, and I absolutely love, and I try to implement this a lot also in what I do here. And you said, we often feel pain, guilt, and shame about our past because those ideas and actions that took place no longer align with who we are today. And then it goes on to say, understand that overcoming your conditioning and undoing what you've learned up until this point in your life will take patience.
Mm-hmm.
And the patience, I mean, just having that reminder to slow down and to pause. So in your eras, how are you finding the time, or how do you find the moments to slow down and find patience
Yeah.
and pause?
The patience and the pause have been really hard for me. And I think that this time in my life, because there is also like a lot of areas where I can find that if I choose to. Like I've more of opportunity and more time available. So I love to take long walks with my dog. I'm teaching myself how to rollerblade at 51 years old.
I didn't even know they still sold rollerblades.
So that's been fun.
Please
I'm
don't get
like,
hurt.
why don't I do something new? And Paige started rollerblading. She's like, let's rollerblade. So now I'm learning how to rollerblade. But I
Yeah,
fell. I've
I
been
love
falling a
that.
lot. But
Are you wearing the knee pads and the
I
elbow?
am.
Oh, and the wrist. They say that's the
Yeah,
first
it
thing,
is the first thing
to
going
break.
down. So I think that that's good for us as we get older to like constantly be teaching ourselves new things because it's great for our brain and great for that. Also, I'm a big fan of like pushing yourself and, challenging yourself because I say this all the time in my class, like your growth resides right outside of that challenge, like right outside of it. And if you're never pushing yourself, nobody's going to do that for you. Nobody in this world is going to push you the way that you can push yourself because nobody really understands what you're capable of. And I love coaching. I love therapy. I'm like into all of that stuff. But I mean, those people give you the tools, but at the end of the day, you have to take that tool and you have to know how to use that tool. So I think like learning new things, trying things that make you feel uncomfortable. I was so uncomfortable. This lady was like, I saw you. This lady that takes my class, she's like, I saw you the other day. I saw you out there on your rollerblades. I was like, oh no, how bad did it look? She's like, you definitely look like you didn't know what you were doing. And I'm just, going around the airport in Pompano. So if you see
You're
me,
like a newborn calf.
yeah,
Like,
literally, I'm just like, oh,
oh no.
hoping I don't fall. But it's been good. That's been fun. And then I love that part of the book too about the conditioning and we're constantly resetting and realigning, and also to be able to allow yourself to be who you are today, and like meet yourself in this moment, and also the other people that have gone along this journey with you too. Because I know so often even in my life, my marriage and my relationships, like a lot of times I'll see, patterns and behaviors for myself and other people. And then we're all holding those other people to like who they used to be. And then we're not giving each other the chance to be like, I've grown. Like, I want to be able to show you who I am as this person now. And I think that that's so important, especially with the people that we've been with for a really long time, is to be able to meet them where they're at, to be able to see yourself in a different light, and to try to release some of those old patterns, those belief systems, and that conditioning that we've just like drug along with us for such a long time. And I think this is a great time in our lives to be able to offer that up to ourselves and to the people around us, because we are like basically starting over.
Yeah.
We've been moms and doing all this stuff and building everything up at this point, and our kids are now off. My kids are now off living their little lives by themselves, and it's so great. It's so great, but it's also like, you're just watching from afar, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's tricky. It's really hard to like find your place where you're at this moment. So
No, and nobody really talks about how hard it is I mean, I guess we're not raising adults, but we kind of are. They're young adults.
yeah,
They're technically adults, but they're,
they still need
they
us.
still need us. So this has really been a big transition of
Mm,
teaching them how to do real life things and really hard things,
mhm.
So talking about retreats, I have never been on a retreat. And so what are your biggest takeaways when you come back from one of these amazing retreats?
Mhm.
And now you're hosting your own retreat. So
Mhm.
first tell me, what is your biggest takeaway when you've gone on another retreat?
So I've done a few in Sedona, and then I did the one in Italy this year, and I'm going to be hosting one in Costa Rica in October of this year. And again, I do women's retreats. I've haven't specifically targeted a certain age group, but I seem to naturally attract
Mm.
like the women in the age. It's usually between like 40, 50, but I've had 60, like a 68-year-old, I think, was in my first and that was her first retreat that
Oh,
she ever did. So that was
so
really
there's hope for
sweet.
me.
Yeah, there's still you've still got time.
Okay, good.
Every time I ask you, you're like, not working out this time, but maybe next time.
I
But
will come
I know
eventually.
you will. I know you will. It's in the cards for
It
us.
is.
But it's so cool. It's the first couple times it was like a sleepover. It was like having a time with just a group of your best girlfriends, but I didn't know any of them. Like I didn't know them. I knew them from like the community or from doing yoga with them or seeing them in class. And it was just such an eclectic group of women that came together, and none of them knew each other either. And we spend like sometimes it's 5 or 6 days, but my first one was in Sedona, and we all stayed in the same house together. So everybody had their own room. It was a big house, and we would do activities together, like hiking, or we went to sound bowls. We did vortex little ceremonies, because Sedona's all full of all of that magic and energy, and some breath work. We had massage therapists come to the house. We had a card reader come to the house. So it's just like anything that you want to do with a group of women, like you're all together, we eat together. There was no drinking. So
I like that.
that's good. But it's just a way we all connected though in such a unique way because we're kind of like in the same age, kind of going through the same things. A lot of women had been married for like a really long time. So we were able to relate in that. And then the woman that was co-hosting with me, she was pregnant. So she was in like a totally different stage than the rest of
Oh.
us. But it was good for her to hear everything that we had been through, like as moms. And most of us had teenagers at that point. Some of us had older children. So I think it's really good to just bring women together any opportunity that you can. And we just had a lot of fun. We did like a full moon ceremony in Sedona, like dancing, and they had like a big fire, and that was really fun, like a drum circle type of situation. And I just think when you can take a group of people out of their everyday environment and you can give them this space where they can just be open and they don't have to worry about who they have to take care of, and you just take care of them and you create this experience. And we're still friends. Like we're still really close. Every time I go, I get to meet like this whole new group of people. And then the second one I did was a completely different experience. I had a couple like 20-something-year-olds in that one, and that was hysterical. I literally, for the first time in my life, like actually peed my pants laughing. I'd never done that before in my life. So that was cool. We had all the way from like 20 up to 60 in that one, but again, women. But it was nice to have that like young energy in that one. And
That's
then
super cool.
yeah. And then in Italy was kind of like a reunion and a mix of like some of the women that I had met in my Ireland training with Louisa Hay training, and then some of the women that had done previous retreats with were there. So it was that was nice too. Everybody got to come together and get to know each other a little bit. And that was just such a beautiful space and a beautiful experience altogether. I'd never been to Italy before, so I was just
Really? Oh, that's
yes.
awesome.
It was so nice. And then, yeah, planning the next one. I just think it's so nice to be able to just take a step outside of your daily routine and be able to just check in. And, most of the time, you don't even know like who's there. So you get to meet like new people and put yourself in that space, because we kind of fall into these patterns in our own lives. And like, how often are we making new friends at this age, like, and I think it's so important because like you said before, we have these mom friends when our kids are little, and it's like situational. We're together. Like I had the elementary mom friends, and then I had the middle school, and then I had the soccer mom, and then I had the dance mom friends. Like I had all these like different little circles of friends. But then as the kids grew and like, everything shifts and changes. And I know Mel Robbins talks about this in her book, Let Them. Like she talks about the pain of like losing those friendships, and like friends move away, and like the proximity of how that is so important too, because my very, very best friend lives in Colorado, and we basically raised our kids together because she lived here for many, many years. But now that she's there, I might see her like every 2 years.
Yeah.
And she was like a sister to me. Like we were so close, but she's so far away, and like, life goes on. But in the retreats, it's a nice way to just find that woman to woman connection, and just I've made some really, really good friends and good connections out of each and every retreat. So they've all been very special. And I'm very passionate about connecting women, as you are too. And I think it's so important as we grow and as we go through these different stages of our life to keep those people close and near, because we need them.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're amazing, and you're so authentic, and
Oh.
people are just drawn to you because you're so honest, and you are who you are, and it's beautiful. When is your retreat? The next one?
It'll be October 24th through the 29th.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. I need to get out of my comfort zone with that, because I feel like if I'm traveling, I have to be with my kids or my husband. But now, things are changing, and he's going to go on a guy's trip. So I need to, venture that out. And here in the Happiest Hour, I'm going to start doing events as well. So I have my first event, which is August 29th in Boca Raton at the Red Reef Park. We're going to do a hot sober girl walk.
I love it.
It's completely free. You can come out and meet other women, other moms, other professional women, and just walk and talk. I'm going to have coffee. So that'll be my first event. And so I do plan to do something with you at some point for sure. I know you and I have talked about that, but, so yeah, we'll see how we'll get the first one and then I'll get there.
Definitely.
It's all a journey. And like we talked about evolving, we're evolving. I'm in my evolving era.
I love it. No, I want to do local stuff too. Like I want to be able to like build our community of women, like do little daycation things, where it's like a half a day and we're, at a hotel or we're just, hanging out or doing all these things.
Those are great.
Yeah.
I did one of those in Delray and it was fantastic. It was broken up into 3 parts. So it was yoga, sound bath, and then we kind of broke off into groups to kind of connect and just talk. And there was a topic. So that was nice because you didn't have to pack or fly anywhere or, and it was relatively affordable.
Yeah, and you don't feel like you're leaving your kids and husband behind.
Right.
I know. I have a woman going in October, and she's like, I was so nervous. This is the first time that I'm leaving. I've never been on a trip without my husband and kids.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking. I feel like I could talk to you all day. Every time I see you, we're like, I got to start class. Okay.
No, it's great.
So yeah, thanks for coming on. I definitely would love to have you back. And let's definitely plan an event.
I would love an event.
And I'm so happy just in general, in life in general, that our paths crossed and it's no accident that we are friends. And I know you're always there for me if I need you.
For sure.
So thank you again.
Of course.